All right, all right, all right. Let's get the show on the road. I'm so excited. I get to take the philosophy test today. I saw it on Discord. It is something that Hank's been sending around. So I'm so excited to find out about myself and my philosophy orientation. Before I do that, I want to check my mic settings, all that stuff. Give the crowd time to file in. I know they're wrapped around the block. It will take them a while. Uh, 1 second. Okay. Oh, it left my microphone alone. Good. So hopefully you can hear me. And oh, hang on here. Fuck. Is this good? Can you hear? Can you hear? All right. I think at least we're good settings wise. Christian Carpenter. Hello. 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 Oh, okay. Well, thank you, sir. Okay. Oh, and before we do that, I wanted to. I guess there's a couple of things. It looks like Biden is doing a speech today or something. So those of you that are watching Biden or having under your microscope, we'll have some more fresh meat today. And then I wanted to. I was. I've been watching the American Revolution, and they're on the part about immigrants and how they helped build America. And I've been thinking about immigrants and reading about it. And I was reading about things like assimilation, cultural assimilation, acculturation, forced assimilation, and about my own people and the forced assimilation we went through. And I came across this interesting passage. There's a specific type of cultural assimilation. There's a specific type of cultural assimilation called Americanization, where ethnic minorities or immigrant groups were influenced to assimilate to the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant American norm at the time, and the Cajuns were one of those groups. So this is from Wikipedia, the article on Americanization. It's just a little paragraph on the Cajuns that I found interesting, especially in light of what has been going on recently and what I've shared about my time up here. The French-speaking Cajuns of southern Louisiana were not immigrants. They arrived before the American Revolution in an isolated area that allowed little contact with other groups. Yeah, we were down there before America became a country. And then when Thomas Jefferson got the Louisiana Purchase, we came with that. We were what's called the lagniappe, the little something extra that comes with. And so y'all kind of inherited us. And at some point, a lot of it was the Civil War and post-Civil War, and then World War II. But at some point, the two cultures were brought into contact, and our people were forced to make the accommodation to American culture. And American culture, which at the time was Anglo-Saxon Protestant, had a vested interest in assimilating us as well. The Cajuns were forcefully anglicized in the 20th century. That is what I don't like. When I say people come and try to raise me or socialize me, I think they're trying to anglicize me. And you shouldn't do that with ethnic groups that have already been through forced assimilation. You also shouldn't do it with autistic people or people not neurotypical. That's why I'm against ABA and that kind of stuff too. It's all this over socialization to one dominant group's norms. And America's not supposed to have one dominant group norms because we all helped to create the country and we all have a stake in it. Children were punished in school for using French. They were called names like swamp rat and boogaloo, forced to write lines, "I will not speak French in school," made to kneel on kernels of corn, and slapped with rulers. I actually got spanked with a ruler in the sixth grade by one of my favorite teachers. It was the yardstick on the hand. I don't remember what I did, but she made me go up in front of the class. And she was black, too. So it wasn't racial or cultural at all. French was also banned as a medium of education by the state of Louisiana. So like the state officially banned our language as well. So the part I found interesting was this reference to swamp rat, because as I've shared before, the guy moved up here for the upper middle class sophisticated, supposedly urbane, cosmopolitan. He worked for Microsoft. That was his nickname for me, and he made fun of the way I talked. And there was another guy in the same demographic up here that I went on a date with that used the same term. And then when I was studying my Cajun history, it turns out that term is actually an insult that the Anglos used for us when they were trying to force assimilate us. So I just found it interesting that it still shows up in the modern world. And it's not even like I think they knew what Cajun was or anything about it. There was just something about me that was swamp ratty that they were reacting to. Just like there's something about me that's, some people find me feminine or womanly. Some people, and then there's the autism. Some people find me a little weird and strange. And then, of course, there's the Satanism. I'm scary and threatening. So there's all these little aspects of me that people react to that have perfectly normal sociocultural explanations, but they don't know that, so it just comes off as weird. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. So now I want to see what this philosophy test is. We'll see. This is here, let's take a look at it. I found the background of it kind of interesting too. It's a trans philosophy test too, so I will find out my philosophy gender as well. It was put together by a philosopher and a psychologist. So they combined the psychology approach, where they collect and analyze data, with the philosophical approach, where they consider arguments and use logic. And so it says, we hope that this philosophical compass test will be interesting because you can learn what philosophical views you hold. I already know which ones I hold, but we'll see if you can clarify them for me at all. I can see how my answers compare to other professors of philosophy. I'm predicting it's going to be mostly analytic philosophy, unless they're European, in which case it will be continental, and probably some postmodern too. And you can see whether certain psychological traits, this is what I'm interested in, that you have, predict the kinds of philosophical, yes. How much of the philosophical orientation is innate or the product of early nature nurture that is kind of hardwired into me temperamentally. Let's get started. Indeed, let's do that. All right. Audio okay. Could see the screen. I may not look at comments for a while. Let's see. Have been and are still being debated. Okay, open-minded. I feel like I am. I'm ready for this quiz. Okay, which of these beliefs? Philosophers debate about whether abstract objects exist, things like numbers. Do numbers actually exist, or are they just mental construct? They are not physical objects, but some argue they are also more than just a thought or idea in people's minds. These are Plato's forms, the Platonic forms. They're supposed to be a third kind of thing that is neither physical nor mental. Which of these beliefs is closest to my perspective? That abstract objects exist. No abstract objects exist. Everything that exists is either physical or mental. I was going to say that they exist as mental phenomena or mental objects, but since they already gave me the category of mental as an option, do I think they exist separate from the human mind? They obviously have a correspondence to material reality. It's like they're embedded in it. I like Aristotle's theory of forms, how they're immanent in the substance. And the human mind can perceive, induce, deduct, intuit. But does that mean they have an independent existence until that happen, until that human mind brings it into the conceptual? I'm going with no. I don't want to overthink or overcomplicate this, so I'm going to go with no. Oh, they show you each answer as you go. So which one am I? Yeah. How did I get? I'm in a third of philosophers and users. The red bars show the percent that agree with me, but where's me? You think that only particular objects exist. That wasn't the question, and that's not what See how I don't already like this test. It's already twisting itself. Generalizations and abstractions are human inventions, yes. Insofar as there are categories, you would say they are creations of mind or of mind. Language doesn't create. Humans create. Conscious, you have to have a creation is a process, a creative process. So you have to have a consciousness that can participate in that process to have creation. Abstract things are not distinct parts of reality. Instead, they are just our way of organizing around particular things. You think numbers are invented, not discovered. I think those categories are a false binary. I think they are, through this process of reason and logic that I keep talking about, this that has historical roots in Greece. They are brought into awareness, but not haphazardly and arbitrarily and random either. They're working off an existing pattern that's perceived externally. So I think this is like a fuzzy. The question is dividing it into a fuzzy category that I don't necessarily accept. Next question. Ooh, determinate. Oh, beauty. Oh, okay, I could do this one. Philosophy has much to say about what determines the nature of beauty. Some philosophers believe that all opinions on beauty and artistic value are equally correct, whereas other philosophers believe that there are objective truths about which things are beautiful or artistically valuable and which things are not. For those who believe in objective truths about beauty, there is much debate. Again, I think it's dividing it into a false, fuzzy binary, because the truths don't necessarily have to be objective to be valid. You can have artistic standards or formal standards that emerge from within different mediums that can have the kind of the force of objective truth without necessarily being what I would call objective truth. But they can influence art in a less than subjective way or more than subjective way. There are objective facts about what is beautiful and what is not, and these facts do not depend on. No, they always depend on the judgment of other people. They're not. There's not like a Platonic form of beauty independent. Human judgment and evaluation and valuation and reaction response to beauty is always an individual matter. It takes a human to have that happen. So I'm going with this one. Again, I don't know which one I am. They show the philosopher responses and the user responses. But where am I? I believe that beauty and ugliness are subjective qualities, sure. Whether something is beautiful depends on how it strikes you, but objective reality does not include any facts about beauty. I'm not being that dogmatic about this. By the same token, there's no way to tell who's right. Yes, I think it is pointless to debate aesthetics. And I think a lot of these philosophical and political debates, that the underlying structure and framework of them is an aesthetic one. And so sometimes you get to what looks like just a difference of opinion or values, but I think it's also a difference in aesthetics. It's not just that we can never know for sure what is truly beautiful. Rather, the subjectivist thinks our aesthetic preferences have nothing to do with shared objective reality. Again, with the dogma, I'm not saying they have nothing to do with. There are no objective truth about aesthetic values like beauty. Close enough. External world. Oh, yeah. Philosophers debate whether the world is all in the mind, our collective mind, or perhaps in God's mind, or if it is a physical reality that we know about through science and observation. Some philosophers maintain it is impossible to know anything about reality since we can never experience reality directly. Correct. All we have is our sense experience. The universe is a physical reality that we can know through science and observation. We cannot know anything about reality, not even that it is in the mind. The universe we know about is entirely contained within the mind. No, I think science and technology and engineering, if nothing else, have demonstrated that there is a physical reality that we can know and manipulate through science and observation. So I'm going with that one. Oh, good. I'm in the majority here. Good, as a autistic satanic rationalist. There is such a thing called rationalist Satanism too. It's an actual denomination that people in the UK, I think, tried to start. Okay, this reminds me of something else. Hank, are you still out there? The MBTI, I've been thinking about this lately because I'm an ENTP. I'm actually an XNXP because my E and I are very balanced and my T and F are very balanced. But the N part, I'm a strong N and I'm a very weak S. But you know how we talked about people that have a spirit, they add the spiritual dimension to their perception. So they see concrete sensory facts, which I would call S, as, hang on, I'm going to take a break real quick and get through this. Hey, everybody, by the way, I'll catch up on comments too. They like take the concrete facts of the physical world and they, when they're processing them, they're fitting them into this story that also includes these supernatural dimensions, these spiritual dimensions and planes and layers and realms and stuff. Whereas people like me that are naturalists, and I don't acknowledge any of those other dimensions, only the observable ones by science. So when I'm processing a fact, I'm not fitting it into any story outside of the terms of the natural world itself. But then the N is supposed to be that you're not focusing on the actual S, the particular, you're focusing on the larger, like the big picture or the story around it. So it seems like a reverse. Does that make me an S, I guess is what I'm asking? Because of the, like, even socially, I take social facts. I can notice concrete social details, but I don't have the larger social story to fit them into to make sense of it. So it's like I notice the S parts, and it's making me question if I'm a stronger S than I realized, or if the N that I'm working off of is a very different N than most people are using to fit their sensory observations into. And then the religious people are using this extra dimensional framework that the rest of us are not using as well. Anyway, I'd like to talk to you about that one day. All right, back to the test. I'm not too worried about our knowledge of the external world. I'm really not. You're pretty certain it's there. The skeptical worry that we can never know the world outside our minds does not deeply trouble you. It really does not. I sleep pretty well at night, actually. I trust in the functioning of the human body, its sensory capabilities to convey accurate information. Accurate enough for humans. It's filtered through a human paradigm. Like Bacon has the four idols, and one of them was idols of the tribe. It's just the biases that come from being human and having human sensory apparatus. And you trust science to explain how all this is possible. Yeah, that I think this captures it better than any of the other questions so far. So yeah, I will go with this. Free will, Denizen, if you're out there, here we go. I don't know what the bird, is it saying the bird chose to fly out of the cage, or it didn't have a choice because if you open a cage, a bird's going to be compelled to fly out just because it's freedom or novelty of variety or something? Let's find out. Free will is the ability to control our actions and be morally responsible for them. I wonder if this is where some of the anti-free will advocacy comes from. Like it's a way of evading moral culpability or guilt. Determinism is the idea that the universe unfolds according to unchanging laws of nature, which I more or less think that's true about physical things, which could be the laws of physics or perhaps the will of God, okay, which have determined the course of events in the universe from beginning to end. If you believe that the events of the universe are determined from their beginning to their end, I don't necessarily know about the end. We're talking about Aristotle and the telos, that there's an end to things that drives their development. There's a future factor that influences the present and how it progresses. Then you might find it logical to think that humans don't have free will over their actions. How can we truly choose anything if everything leading up to that moment and everything after it is predetermined? That said, holding people responsible for the choices that they make is a fundamental part of human interaction. Yes, absolutely. People have to be responsible for their choices, whether they're determined or not. It originated from them. So to have the present society that we have to draw the responsibility line somewhere. And people drink and have blackouts and do horrible things. They're still responsible for them. There's mental illness that people could go into psychotic states and do horrible things, but that person is still the locus of that action. Now whether there's legal responsibility because of competency and stuff is a different question. That's a feature of the particular system. But they talk about everything that leading up to it is predetermined and everything after it. Even if that's true, let me grant them all of that. That still doesn't say anything about the moment itself. So even if everything up to it is predetermined and everything after, there's still a before and after and a moment where there appears to be some kind of ability to choose. So I don't know if that's necessarily an argument against. Determinism is true, so we don't have free will. We have free will, so determinism must be false. We can still have free will even if determinism is true, which I believe is compatibilism. I'm going to go with that one. Yep, what they say. You believe that we have free will, but you think that having free will is compatible with living in a deterministic universe. Yes, not everything has to be deterministic. There's even what is it, Democritus or Lucretius, the theory of the atoms, that they didn't completely move and fall in straight lines, that there was this random little element to them where they would do these little slight swerves here and there, just capriciously, that kept it from being a rigid deterministic system. The freedom to choose is not a metaphysical power that breaks the laws of physics. Rather, freedom consists simply in the ability to do what you choose to do. Right, but as usual, they're not going to accept the simple explanation because they're very imaginatively overexcitable, and they're going to take the most elaborate, complicated, conspiracy brain version of things. Your choices might be predetermined, but they are yours nonetheless. If you had a different set of beliefs and desires, then you would have made different choices and done different things. Perhaps. We don't know, but that you're still not negating the element of choice. You're acknowledging that there is choice involved and there is a moment involved. So you're granting most of my premises that I would use to construct the argument. Free will means that you make the choices you do and can be held responsible for those choices because you are you. Oh, that was the answer. Okay. Let's see. Freedom consists. I had one other thought, but I forgot what it was. Oh well. It's not a metaphysical power that breaks the laws of physics. Rather, again, I keep going back to the creative process. Like anybody that's done art or creation, or even as a kid had played, you made decisions in the moment creatively that affected your project or outcome or product. So the creative artistic process itself would seem to be an experiential argument for free will. People edit, they change their mind, they go back, they revise. If it's all predetermined, it would just cut. There'd be no need for any of that. That just seems so random. Okay, God, let's get into it. Hey, God, good to see you again. How you doing? Oh, I want to glance at comments real quick, and then we'll dive into God. Oh wow, there's way more people watching than I thought there would be. I thought this would be nerd hour. If you think it's interesting to other people, let them know that I'm on, and call Division of Wildlife Resources. Zebra tag. Okay, well, hey Jax, I was thinking about you today. Not kidding. We don't see you around as much. I hope everything's okay. All right, well, I'll get back to God. God is usually regarded as an all-powerful deity or multiple deities, worshipped as the creator or ruler of the universe, or as rulers of y'all know what God is. However, many individuals question or deny the existence of God, seeing it as incompatible with various aspects of the world. Yes, with various aspects, but not all aspects. I think there are aspects of humans, human culture, human society, that God could be very much compatible with, even if it originates from within the human. or seeing it as something that is impossible to determine. If you are agnostic about the existence of God, then try to choose the answer. What do you think is more likely? God does not exist. Occam's razor, it's an unnecessary. It's confusing that first type of myth or story with the second type, the more rational observation correspondent to the physical world type. You might believe there is no supreme being. In fact, I'm reading right now as I go through that book on intellectual history. They're coming into the development of Christianity and the Judaic roots of it, the Hebraic Judaic roots, and that's kind of the origin of our a lot of our modern conception of God. So I want to talk about that on the stream eventually. You might believe that there is no supreme being, no all-powerful, all-knowing, maximally benevolent creator. You might believe that the idea of God's existence is absurd. You might have what you take to be a conclusive argument. The difference between an atheist and an agnostic is confidence about the claim. I'm confident. You are only an atheist if you are confident that God does not exist. I'm a non-theist, actually, because I do consider Satanism a religion. Knowledge claims. This is epistemology. This is what we do on this stream. This is my territory, baby. Let's go. It's one word, but it potentially has multiple meanings. Knowledge. In epistemology alone, it's common to distinguish among three kinds of knowledge: whether you know how to do something, which is praxis, know a person, or know a fact. Could this knowledge mean the same in every situation? Oh, I thought they were going to do like opinion, doxa, dogma. I did a stream on that one day too. Which is the correct way to use the word knows? When you claim that a person knows something, what are you saying? It changes from, yes, there's lots of different things you can mean. No always means the same thing. Nope. Knows, no, nope. This is the correct answer. So that means that 60-something% of philosophers are wrong on this. And once again, I'm in the minority. This is what based radical centrism is all about, folks. Walking that road not taken. Oops, why did I do that? Hang on. If you think the word knowledge does not have consistent meaning, it's Wittgenstein and language games and categories and that kind of stuff. It changes from context to context. Yes, that's how language works, pragmatically. And I'm a pragmatist. I'm a based pragmatist, radical centrist. There are all kinds of different but closely related states of mind we could refer with the word knowledge. The particular mental state we refer to on a given occasion. Right. Like if somebody says they know a person, I'm going to figure out from the context what kind of know they're talking about. Or if they know how to fix a computer, I'm going to figure out from the context that they're talking about a different kind of knowledge. I don't even need to even consciously process this. I have so much experience with it, even like as a kid. That's mostly how we learned language. In fact, there was a unit they used to call it language arts, which was like English, I guess, and reading and stuff, called context clues, where they'd give us new vocabulary words and they'd give us sentences, and from the sentences we'd have to figure out what the words mean. And I love that kind of stuff. The particular mental state, whether we are worried we might be dreaming, such as in Descartes, if we're being, no, I don't worry about that kind of stuff because I'm a pragmatist. That's what base pragmatism is. I take it, I'm a phenomenologist. I take it as it appears and as it consistently seems to appear so that I can use it as a stable model to make predictions off of. And as long as I can do that and survive and get through life, I don't stay awake at night. Is it a simulation? Am I dreaming? Is it mind control? Is it demons? Laws of nature. Newton. Mendel. That's genetics. The Punnett squares. I used to love those too. And the ideal gas laws are a few examples of laws of nature. Some philosophers regard laws of nature as fundamental principles that govern the nature of reality. They explain why things happen in the way that they do. Other philosophers regard laws of nature as mere interpretations of observable phenomena that allow us to make accurate predictions about the world. These philosophers are skeptical that fundamental principles which explain the regularities of... Are these the POMOs? Let's see. I would say they're stronger than just interpretations because they seem to have, you seem to be able to make predictions. They have a predictability, a predictable element to them, and an applicable element to them where you could apply them to the phenomena and actually change and manipulate and direct the phenomena. So that seems more than just an interpretation. Yes, accurate predictions about the world. Um, so their interpretation, their paradigms, I would say, and they change or evolve if you believe they progress. But I still don't know if that means that they. Is this kind of like the math question? Do numbers exist in the mind or outside? The laws of nature are just descriptions of patterns that we have observed and will probably observe in the future. Here's the thing: we can get most of them down to mathematical precision. So that yes, they're descriptions, but they're very, very precise descriptions. So for the descriptions to be that precise, that means the patterns need to be that precise. I'm thinking of engineering where they calculate velocity, motion, relation to the materials, all the external forces, the internal forces, etc. That stuff is all there. It's not things. It's stuff. It's dynamics. It's the relation of physical objects to the other and the patterns that happen between them. So descriptions of patterns, yes, are more than mere descriptions. They're deep. So this is like more Platonic forms, and this is more Aristotelian empiricism. I'll go with this one. Again, what 70 something percent of philosophers are wrong. Being a Humean means agreeing with David Hume. He's in the tradition of empiricism, I believe. Hume famously argued that there are no necessary connections between events. So did Nietzsche. Causation is imaginary. It's a fiction that we cannot help but believe in out of habit because doing so helps us organize our experience. Right, because the human brain, that's kind of like Kant and his categories. The human brain organizes, or is like there's a tendency in the human brain to perceive and organize in particular ways just because of our biological inheritance. Just like a fish or a cow or something would be putting the world together in a way peculiar to their brain and the way it's positioned in physical reality. Causation is imaginary. It's a fiction. We cannot help believe out of habit doing so. Yeah, okay. Although we perceive regularities in nature, there are no substantive laws of nature enforcing these regularities. I'm agnostic on this. What we call laws of nature are merely concepts invented by humans that are useful for predicting events. More or less, yeah. All right, what's next? What does this end? Meta ethics. Sounds cool to me. Let me take a look at the comments real quick. Bacon. Hey, Philip, you're. Oh wow, Moose. That's I trust your eye. I'm in a. Oh, you took the test too. After this is over, I'm gonna do a open panel, and you can come up and I want to talk about your results, and I want to talk about that SN thing that I had. I very much do live in the moment. Part of it is because I have a very broken brain and I have no ability to conceive of the future at all. I don't know how other people are doing it. It's such a vague concept. I can make a guess. It's like throwing a dart at the bull. I can get it maybe to hit the bullseye or the side of the wall next to it, but I don't know how people are homing in on the future enough to know how to make your life go a certain direction. That is very difficult for me. And living in the moment. I grew up living in the moment, and it just worked. Like I'm best in chaos, where I could kind of just surf the different currents of it and just do like 5 or 6 things at once. And just my flow. First person view of the moment. I think so too. I think it's the most empowering view for sure if people can achieve it. Have no overall view. And that's hard to get because that's an advanced cognitive process. It involves using your imagination to predict and create a picture and anticipate. And that's kind of advanced. I even have a hard time with some of that. All right, let's see what meta ethics has to say. that investigates what morality is, including moral thoughts, words, and practices. It's an interesting field to debate, as we all have views on what's right and what's wrong. There is really a fact about what is right or wrong. Morality is always only a matter of cultural convention or personal belief. This is the hardest choice so far, because I went over the other day the Platonic approach to morality, where you have to, it like rest on metaphysics. So you have to intuit the metaphysical form of things like truth and the good and justice to know what morality is, because that's what it's based on. And the Aristotelian approach was to just study humans in action and look at which individual actions are good and which individuals are doing good actions, and kind of extract from that what morality is, which is much closer to my approach. That's where every time people talk about morality, I'm always saying, well, what's the situation? I need to know the situation. I need to know the individual. I need to know the people. I can't just answer an abstract moral question. So I don't think right or wrong are scientific categories. So if you're talking about scientific objectivity, I think that's a category confusion. I do think some things are just wrong, but some of that could be culturally biased. That's what some people would have you believe. I do think there are things like the contempt instinct emotion, the disgust emotion, etc. I don't think there's like this universal natural law that applies to all. I think culture can modify so much of this, because I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it observationally. But I also don't think it's only a matter of culture, convention, or personal belief. But if I have to choose, I'm going to lean more toward. And a lot of us, I think, are, because we're Westerners, when we think of morality, we think of Western morality, and we think in particular traditions that are unique or indigenous to Western culture. And so are we thinking about morality as a Westerner or as kind of a citizen of the planet? I have a very hard time breaking out of my Western chauvinism, because I don't know anything outside of that. So I don't have anything to contrast it to. I'm going to go with this one. Man, I should go teach philosophy school. These philosophers are way off. I doubt that morality really exists. No, that's not what I said. I specifically went out of my way not to say that. Maybe you believe this because you think I don't believe that. The world is purely physical, and nope, wrong. Are you an empiricist? Yes, / phenomenologist who thinks all knowledge comes from science and observation, and you don't see how science and observation? Nope. I've accounted for that, because science and observation is one sphere of human activity, but I don't think it's the sum total. And I think there are other areas where better approaches than science and observation could be more effective. And human society, human interaction, culture, things like ethics, how we relate to each other, I think is one of those areas. So I think there are limits to science. I think it has a specific domain, and it operates very strongly when it stays in its domain and stays king of its own castle. But I don't think every castle belongs to science. You may think that statements of morality are meaningless, or that they are mere expressions of positive or negative emotions. Nope, I think it's something more than that. Or you may think that moral statements pretend to assert aspects of reality that simply aren't there. You might still think that moral beliefs serve an important purpose, like yes, that one, organizing our society and keeping us from hurting each other. Yes, they have practical utility, and whatever cultural factors they're based on. I like morality. I think it's important. I think we need it. So that one. I feel like it was like scolding me that I got the wrong answer somehow, like the AI does sometimes. Mine. This is mine. This is my territory. Philosophers have often wondered if the states and processes of the mind are identical to states and processes of the brain. The mind-body problem. We did a whole philosophy unit on this. While we may use the words mind and brain interchangeably at times, let's look into whether we should. The mind is a totally physical thing, the brain. The mind is something non-physical, something additional to the brain. I am a naturalist, not a materialist or physicalist. I believe things like consciousness, mind, information can be non-material, but still have naturalistic and physiological explanations. and they what philosophers call supervene on the physical and emerge from the physical. So it's the theory of supervenience. Is thought physical? It has a physical component. It's electrical impulses. It's neurons firing. It's the encoding and decoding of information and images, language. Um, this is kind of the problem of consciousness, really. I do believe that the consciousness needs a brain to exist. It has to supervene on a material substance like a human brain. And so if no brain or no functioning brain, I'm talking about death, no consciousness. But I don't know if that necessarily is your TV image or your computer screen identical to your laptop and the computer chips or the software. Is it something more? Is it like a synergistic element that makes the content that you interact with more than just the subcomponents of the physical hardware that's generating it? This one's hard. It is not a totally physical thing. It can't be. But I don't know what non-physical means other than I don't know if it's additional to the brain, because this is, oh, fuck, what do I go with? Let's do a cliffhanger. I'll do a few more comments and we'll come back. I have what's called a spiky profile. I have some areas of the brain that are very developed. Like I'm hyperlexic. I was reading at a very early. I was probably reading before I was speaking. I don't even remember learning how to read. I just always knew how to do it. I was very developed there. And then I have things like social perception, future blindness, that kind of stuff that don't work at all. And like ordinary people, like 4-year-olds, have a more advanced version of that than me. So my profile goes, it's peaks and valleys. It's Ren and I talked about the tops and the bottoms, but the middle is what we have trouble with. That's where my perceptual weaknesses lie. Chaos is the best for certain purposes, for many purposes, many of my purposes. But at the same time, I appreciate order and structure. I'm trying to bring more of it to these panels. It's the Apollonian and the Dionysian. You need Father Zeus, but you need that chthonic underworld energy as well, and that collectivist energy, that crowd energy. Better to live in the moment. I kind of do both, because I also have a hyperthymistic memory, and that means I remember very vividly everything that made an impression on my brain from the moment I started remembering is the same for me as if it happened yesterday. So that the moments from my childhood are as vivid to me as what I did yesterday. In some cases more vivid. So I have all of my memories all at once, very vividly, that I can just zip all around it while I'm living in the present moment. Except if you add in the PTSD and stuff that kind of projects the past onto the present. I think the edge there is that working on the future thing, because you have all three components that you could coordinate. And this makes sense to me. I think it was Samuel Johnson that had some quote that he took from Shakespeare, a passage in Shakespeare about how we're never truly living in the present. Our minds are always in the future or the past, but very rarely do we live in the present moment, and that our actual life is more like an after dinner nap or something. Oh, are there seasons to this chaos? It was starting to look like an ocean, a never-ending ocean with no horizons or borders, no land in sight, except for this little. I feel like this is the Gilligan Islands dinghy that's trying to get the few little sane, stable, rational people to some kind of shore in the chaos of the Panelverse. I would think Northwest Europe is similar. Yes, except watching that American Revolution thing, and there's a tweet I want to share later. Those founding fathers, they were some badasses. They were very hyper reactive to being controlled or told what to do. And I think it accumulated, possibly even generationally. And so they brought in a whole new set of values that I think might have been kind of foreign to Northwest Europe, that are distinctly American. And we see some of them today, not only in some of the stuff I don't like the wokeness, the Puritanism, but also the the militias, the rebels, all of these anti-tax, let's go live off in the woods people, they would be they would be like on the front lines of the Continental Army if this was 1776. So I'm just getting a new appreciation for all of the strands that make up our tapestry and how much each contributed to the country we have today and how much each is a stakeholder. And that was kind of the promise of America for me, is that all of these diverse, it's kind of like the Panelverse. It's like all of these weird people from backgrounds that would never normally meet came together in one space and built something. And every person that did that, whether their values are compatible or they personally get along, they all had a hand in creating that something larger, and they all deserve a stake in it. And not any one group should get to say. And I think if the woke presented their case that way, they'd make a lot more sense and have a lot more supporters. Anyway, let's get back to this test thing. What am I doing? Oh, mind. If you unplugged my brain right now or deprived it of enough oxygen that it unplugged itself, I would have no mind. That the mind thing would be gone. So it definitely requires, but it is not totally, it's the totally part that's hanging me up. And it's also the non-physical part, something additional. Because I don't necessarily think it's additional to the brain either, unless they mean emergent. And I know this is going to take me toward idealism, and this is going to take me toward materialism and physicalism. As an empiricist, a naturalist, a phenomenologist, but still a naturalist, I believe there's naturalistic explanations for phenomena, even if the phenomena themselves are not strictly naturalistic. I'm going to have to tilt by a fraction of a percent to this one. Oh, look how close it is, even for philosophers. Yeah, the mind-body problem's been around forever, and the problem of consciousness. It's not getting solved anytime soon. I think AI is just going to give us a richer understanding of it, and maybe generate a few more questions to ask, but not even bring us close to solving it. You believe the mind is a physical thing. You probably think, see how it makes those little obnoxious assumptions? It sounds like a scoldy white lady. If something exists, then it must be part of the physical world, so the mind must be part of the physical. I didn't say any of that. Some physicalist views postulate that the mind is identical with the brain. Others postulate that the mind is functionally related to. Yes, like how computer software, yes. The mind and the brain are not identical, but the mind is still physical. You definitely do not believe in a soul. Correct. Good job, machine. Moral judgment. Philosophers debate the function of moral statements in our language. We make a claim about what's right and what's wrong. Are we making statements that have the potential to be universal, or do such claims merely express our feelings? I don't think it's either or. Again, with the false binary. Statements about what actions are right or wrong express our beliefs about the moral facts. Statements about what actions are right or wrong express our emotions. Personal approval, disapproval, our wishes for others to behave in certain ways, as opposed to expressing our beliefs about moral facts. I think a lot of times it is this, the second one, but I definitely don't think we're making statements that have the potential to be universal. That's why I'm reticent, like on things like the trans issue, to be absolutist about nobody should have surgery before 18, because I want to always allow for exceptions, medical exceptions. I think the ultimate center of decision making for that should be the doctor and the patient, the collaboration between the doctor and the patient, etc. So I don't want to say that this is true for all children everywhere, universally for all time. But the way they describe the paragraph and the way they ask the question is throwing me off, because they don't seem to be that related. About what actions are right or wrong express. I do think they express our beliefs. I mean, we talked about Socrates' distinction between facts and statements about facts. And I think when we express anything about right or wrong, we're expressing a statement about a moral fact or a belief about a moral fact. But we're also expressing, I think we're doing this too, but we're at least doing this. And I think this is the essence of it. I'm going to go with that. Do you believe any moral claims are true? See, depends on what category of true you're using. There's scientifically true, which is correspondent to the objective world, the physical universe, usually. When you start applying it to the human, the psychological and social universe, it starts to get a little fuzzy. Do you believe in, and I think something like a moral claim would be from that universe, and I think there's a different standard of truth in that universe. Is it socially cohesive? Is it morally coherent within that framework? So yes, I believe moral claims are true, but probably not in the sense that the machine is going to take true. But let's see, it asked the question earlier about knowledge and the different connotations of knowledge. So let's see how subtle it is. The truth of a moral claim is based on whether individuals believe it to be true, is based on whether society believes it to be true, God's commands, independent of whether. That's what Socrates and Plato tried to do, base morality on something independent of the relative human perspectives and power of persuasion from the sophist. The truth of a moral claim is based on whether society believes it to be true. So is the locus of morality the group or the individual? Like Moose was talking earlier today about how when he was growing weed and some of the regulations and the pesticide use and stuff, he did what he believed was right, not necessarily what was legally allowed, and that he was willing to take the consequences of it. And that resonates more. That's my personal morality, but they're asking about the truth of a moral claim. So when I say something is right or wrong, I'm making a claim based on a sense of individual morality, what's right or wrong for me, not necessarily what might be right or wrong for other people. That sounds true, closest to me. Although there are some things I would claim that should be wrong for everybody, but I also recognize that they're not. So let's go on this one. Oh, I'm in the majority for once. Welcome to enlightened individualism. A cognitivist thinks moral beliefs are about reality and can be either true or false. Moral realists are cognitivists. They think some moral beliefs are objectively true, but being a cognitivist doesn't entail having any particular beliefs about what is right or wrong. Even if you think all moral beliefs are false, you are still a cognitivist because you think moral beliefs can be objectively false. Your mama is a cognitivist. Your cognitivist believes moral judgments are meaningful statements about a situation in the world. Sure, and that's more in line with the Aristotelian perspective anyway. Newcomb's problem. How many, Hank, how many of these are there? Are you still there? I'm on a futuristic game show. Yay, I feel like one already. You are presented with two boxes, A and B. You could either take box A or box A and B. The host guarantees that box B has $10 in it. The situation with box A is tricky. He scanned my brain before the show began. Good luck with that. And used the scan to decide what to put in box A. So it already knows the choice I'm going to make. So it's already going to choose against me. It's known that this method of brain scanning always accurately predicts your future action. If the scan indicated that you would choose both boxes, then the host put nothing inside box A. If the scan indicated that you would only choose box A, then box A is 1,000 inside instead. But he wouldn't do that, right? It cuts off somewhere. Hang on. You've seen these shows, so you know how it works. I can't just take box B with the $10. I have to take A alone or A and B, and he already knows what I'm going to choose. So if he knows I'm going to choose box A, why would he put $1,000 in it? That's like him helping me to win the money. Why would he do that? So he knows I'm only going to choose one box. But if I choose both boxes, I get at least $10. I can tell you what I'm going to choose because from living in Vegas, I hardly gambled at all. If I put in a quarter and got 50 cents, I doubled my money and I cashed. Like I didn't go higher than that. So I think just the chance of getting a guaranteed $10 is going to be enough for me to choose both boxes. So even if A has nothing in it, I'll still get the $10. I'm going to go with both boxes. Okay. On the one hand, you should just pick box A. On the other hand, the money is either in the box. Yeah, I don't believe he would put the money in the box. I don't know why he would do that. You're better off choosing both boxes. Yeah, that's what I reasoned out too. Then you have the $10. You either get 1,000 or zero, which is less money than in both scenarios where you took two boxes. The one boxer ends up with more money than the two boxer. That's where the paradox lies. That's the last one you said? No, it's normative ethics. Normative ethics explores how one ought to act. Oh, the is ought thing. Unlike meta ethics or moral judgment, normative ethics looks into what makes an action right based on asking what everyone should do in that. Because I'm more virtue ethics of looking at the individual cognitive process involved in the act. This sounds like that. Yeah, the moral conformity, the Puritanism. Conforming to a correct ethical principle regardless of the consequences the action has. No, just conforming to a rule just because that's the rule. In certain situations, I could see the value of that, like safety, where you have to be very meticulous about following these procedures to maintain safety and stuff. Surgery, maybe that kind of stuff. Even then, the surgeon should have the creative freedom to make decisions on the fly if he needs to. But I am not good in these situations. So causing good effects for people, I think, is what I'm going to go with. The fact that a good, wise, virtuous person, no. Because good, wise, virtuous people can... I don't think anybody's purely good, wise, virtuous that is not also capable of evil. This one. That to me what goodness is. It's what produces the most help, the most good for other people. You think that rightness or wrong is a matter of what effect that action has. Right actions cause good outcomes. Wrong actions cause bad outcomes. With evaluating the goodness, it doesn't matter what the intentions. I didn't say it doesn't matter. I think intent can be taken into account, but also outcome. It doesn't have to be one or the other. They can be two factors. This isn't a question that will cover your political view, but rather the political philosophy of how I think a society should be. Oh, my utopia. De-emphasizes individualism and individual rights. Fuck no. Focusing instead on the community as a whole, but not at the expense of the individual. The art is to build communities of individuals, highly self-determining, autonomous individuals. And at what scale that's possible, I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find out. A society that puts special emphasis on ensuring that everyone has equal basic rights and opportunities, so any inequality reflects... No, this is the woke social engineering nanny state. This one, the government as little as possible. Basic things, a good basic foundation for the rest of us to take it from there. Strong individual freedom. Governments have no right to interfere with... I'm not saying no right. There's certainly instances where I would want the government to interfere. You're right, without very strong reasons to do so. So the areas I'm talking about, there are usually strong reasons to do so. You believe that people can be coerced into respecting the freedom of others. I don't know if the primary role of government is coercion. Enforcement, maybe. Coercion sounds more like that soft engineering they try to do. Set the boundary. People can decide themselves what to do with that boundary, and then you enforce the consequences of violating that boundary. That's it. How did it get more complicated than that? But you also believe that government should not coerce individuals into serving the greater good. Right. Who gets to define the greater good, especially in a country like America? There's not one group driving the bus. That was my point earlier. You probably even believe that people should not be coerced into serving their own personal interests by the government. You are probably right. The nanny state, right. An enemy of paternalism. Oh, he watches my streams. Good. A defender of individual liberties and a proponent of private ownership. That probably makes me a far-right Nazi libertarian. Commutard, whatever. The purpose of science, the philosophy of science, looks into the foundations, methods, and implications of science, and there's plenty of debate on whether science can reveal the truth about unobservable things. Science is a helpful tool for making predictions and developing new technologies, and it also brings us closer to knowing the ultimate truth of reality. Science is a helpful tool for making predictions, but it does not actually bring us closer. I think it does bring us closer. I think if you look at our scientific knowledge today and our scientific knowledge from 2,000 years ago, you could come up with a set of metrics In fact, I'd say probably most, if not all, of the metrics you come up with, you could show a clear superiority or progression of our position relative to truth and reality now versus then. Now, how far that gap is in when you look at it from like the God perspective and ultimate truth, I don't know. It might just be like an ant's hair apart. But I still think that it can progress toward truth. I'm not a POMO. 70% of philosophers are still sane and rational. Holy be, glory be, thank you. Scientific theories approximately tell us how the world really is. You probably believe that most well-supported scientific theories are at least approximately true. I feel seen, finally, and it took a machine to do it. Moreover, you think that the theoretical elements of our best science refer to real things in the world. So, for example, even though we cannot directly observe electrons, you believe they exist. Right, yes. Teletransporter. Scientists has built this machine, scan your body and brain, disintegrate them, send me across the world to another machine. The second machine builds me back up. This is ship of Theseus. This is a safe way for you to teleport. Using the machine kills the real you and creates a duplicate. I don't think it's possible to replicate consciousness. And like there'd be even this little tiny moment where the one particle would not be there and then the other particle. So there'd be a gap in the continuity of consciousness. I don't see how that's avoidable. So no, it's not a safe way. It's going to kill a motherfucker. I'm in the minority on this. I will not use a teletransporter. No way. Not until I see somebody else use it, come out and come back through. And I can satisfy myself that they're the same person. You know that these machines actually destroy your body at the departure location, thus killing you and make a duplicate of you. You'd constantly be a new person, like a new starting point of consciousness every time. That would be, no, that's crazy making. If you have a friend or family member who has teleported, you regard them as a copy. I don't want copies of people. I already have enough of those. The original person killed themselves and subsequent. This is creepy sci-fi stuff. Truth. They're interested in discussing what truth is a property of and what you mean when you say something is true. One of the first questions they explore is, what is truth? Truth is what you have completely successfully represent reality. That's one type of truth. That's the correspondent type that science and logic use. The word true doesn't really add anything to statements. There's no difference between saying Earth is round. It's true that Earth is round. That's also true. Truth must be defined in terms of what can be known, and this might depend on social, historical, perspective, or pragmatic. This can also be true. So which one is closest? For me, it's when I have come closest to representing a reality. It's correspondent to some reality external to itself. I'm going to go with that one. Is a relationship between reality and a representation of it. That's scientific truth, not necessarily psychological, moral, or social truth. Truth is not identical with reality. Rather, truth exists within sentences, brain states, other representations of reality considered accurate. Correspondence, truth, and connection with the world that really exists out there, independent of our ability to know and think about. Yes, that sounds very sane. Oh my God. Zombies. I'm feeling like one now. What do zombies have to do with philosophy? The philosophical zombie. I know what this is. A being that's just like a human in every way, but lacks consciousness. They have no internal experience. There's nothing that it is like to be it. Others think that such a philosophical zombie is a possibility, whether or not it could actually exist. Can you imagine a creature that just seems like a healthy human being, but has no conscious experience? I have blacked out a few times with alcohol. And if you know anything about blackouts, it's not the amount you drink. It's the speed at which you drink it. It's the rate at which the alcohol, that the BAC, blood alcohol content, spikes or increases or raises. So if it's at a normal level and it spikes too quickly, it can cause parts of your brain to turn off, like the parts of your brain that encode memories. And so during a blackout, I'll remember part of the night, and then I'll wake up the next day. And it's not the pass out kind of drunk, where you just got drunk and then eventually passed out and you don't remember anything. You're actually fully conscious. You're talking with people. You're able to do things. Some people drive, but you have no memory of it yourself. Other people can remember it. They can tell you what you did. And blackouts are scary because when people tell you what you did during a blackout and you realize you were not conscious at the time and had no control over yourself, that is a scary feeling. Because of those experiences, I think I could imagine something that's human but not conscious in the moment. I wouldn't even say it's not possible for it to exist in reality. You could probably disable certain brain functions to simulate it. I'm very reluctant to draw a line at what's possible for humans to bring into reality. I'm going to go with this one. It's not a strong answer, but I'm still going to go with it. You can imagine a human being, but as no. Furthermore, you think this demonstrates that such a being could potentially exist. You might think that the mind body are distinct. If a being can exist that appears in every way to be conscious, but has no consciousness, no. I tied it all to the brain specifically, so this would not apply. Finish. All right, here we go. Oh, I have to give it my email. All right. I'll give it a junk mail. Oh, I can leave it blank and just watch. I do want the report, actually. All right, let me do this. Submit. Thanks. When do I find out my... Hank. The psychological part, it wants me to answer a whole bunch of other questions. I wonder if I should just do a separate stream with a part 2. Let me see where it takes me. Do you know how many did you do the psychological part? You know what? Let's just go through it real quick. They're not very detailed. Do you enjoy working with numbers? I'm not a numbers person, almost never. Oh, I see how this works. Okay. In a lake, there's a patch of lily pads each day. If it takes 48 days, how long would it take for the patch to cover half the lake? 47 days. If it doubles every day, right? If you got the cognitive reflector with yeah, I do have correspondence theories of truth. All right. Actually, okay, I'm going to do this one, but actually, I think this part of the test is less important. So I'm going to just go to the philosophical results. How satisfied with life? I hover. Let me do this. Negatively. Oh, right. Because people that believe in no free will and determinism are the losers who didn't do anything with their life. And so they need to feel like they didn't have control of it. But people that made something of their life are going to naturally feel like they had a hand in making that happen. That makes sense. How religious or spiritual? I'm trying to be more of it. Okay, so... Oh, wait, hang on. Let me get my philosophical answers. Oh, okay. It sent me my results. Let's see what we have. View my results. All right, Hank, this is the part you were waiting for. My meta-ethical position is subjectivist. So this is my path. Are moral claims like murder is wrong the sort of claim that can be true or false? Yes. Are any moral claims true? Yes. Is the truth of a moral claim independent of whether people to believe it true? No. What determines the truth of a moral claim? Individuals. That leads me to subjectivism. Interesting. I'm a nominalist. You think only particular objects exist. Yeah, that's more in line with Aristotle, too. Generalizations are abstract human, more or less. Aesthetic beauty, aesthetic subjectivist, sure. External world realist, compatibilist. This test actually is kind of helpful. Those of you that are even slightly into this stuff should consider taking it. Compatibilist. I'd say non-theist, but close enough. Contextualist, sure. Humean. Moral realist, yep. Physicalist, naturalist, cognitivist. I did the two boxer, consequentialist. Oh, I lean libertarian. Yeah, I knew that too. Because there's like a libertarian left and a libertarian right, and the libertarian right, it describes me pretty well. Scientific realist. None of this is a surprise. Teletransporter leads to death. Correspondence theory. Philosophical zombies. All right. That was my experience with the philosophy test. It gave different labels for each question, like each. It wasn't just one. It was a series of different labels. All right. What I'm going to do is I need to take a break and get a refresh. Put the link and maybe hope for a co-host to hop on. That's what I'll do. There you go, folks. Oh, and let me put the test for you. Here's the test. I should put it in the description too. Perfect. Just the person I want to see. Here's Mr. Hank.
Yeah, forgot to mute that tab. Yeah.
Which tab?
I always keep a YouTube tab open to watch. Make it easier to interact with the YouTube.
Oh, I never keep it open. Just when I have to edit
Pin
something.
the link. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my results. I saved it to a file, so I'm gonna get the tab. Here it is. So I saved my results to a file. In that string, always regenerates your results. It's because of how that.
Did you find yours pretty accurate?
Yes.
Mine too, for the most part. Even though some of the questions were not quite how I would frame things.
Well, I acknowledge it because sometimes they have like a third option that's inaccessible, but it's close enough.
Hey, in the back, can you flash so I can see? All right, cool. All right, we
guess you can take your break and I'll just explain my results.
Well, I'm interested in them too, but
okay. Then I'll just explain real quick then. So my meta ethical position is emotivism. I pretty much say it's yay boo.
Oh, let me see the path. So murder is not the sort of thing that can be true or false. And then raw, what does it say?
Raw emotions.
So your morality is like based off of your emotions?
Yes.
Interesting.
And I think everyone else's is too.
Then
they go back and justify it somehow. Like God agrees with me, or society.
Or they refine the emotion into something higher with the intellect and the reason. It may not be a justification. It may actually be a something more civilized than that.
Yeah, they'll come up with a mathematical formula to justify the feelings. Like Stefan Molyneux did.
Oh yeah. That's who Neurojack is into.
Yeah, I was into him too. Till he got destroyed by Stephen Woodford. I actually knew he was going to be destroyed by Stephen Woodford before he got destroyed by Stephen Woodford because I read his book. And I could find out the weaknesses myself, but that was embarrassing on Stefan's part. So, abstract objects, I'm a nominalist, just like Jeff is. I'm a aesthetic beauty. I'm an aesthetic subjectivist, like Jeff is. With external world, I'm an idealist. I'm an idealist and not a physicalist. I think everything
Right.
comes from ideas. Free will. Um. Well,
We're-
the closest thing that the test could get me to was a compatibilist, but that doesn't actually apply to me. I think free will is just a nonsense concept. I think it's just
do you believe you have choice? Like, are you making choices that can change things if you make different choices?
so. The problem is, where am I making these different choices at?
But do you feel like you could?
I don't know. I need to know where I'm making these.
Do you,
I think
are you in control of your choices when you do make a choice? Is it you making the choice?
well, I don't know who else is making the choice, but doesn't mean it doesn't. But free will implies that there's like a different timeline where I can make a different choice. But I don't have access to it, so what does it even mean? What does it even mean? But what it means is that, well, I blame you for that because you possibly could have made a different choice,
So,
in my opinion.
so you see free will as like a multiverse thing, basically.
No, I separate free will and will. So will is why I say is the choices. Now I know what the engine is behind will, but that's the latitude of choices we could see in the scenario. And free will is just whether someone blames you for whatever happened or not. So you said that's why I-Fi and Illuminati would say slaves have free will because they blame the slaves for their condition, even though they're friggin' slaves. Well, or if someone got robbed, bro, they had the free will to get shot instead, and that's just okay, just fine. But you're just blaming the victim.
But slaves also like do things other than be a slave, like they have sex or they have kids or they have a family or they,
If the master allows them to, sure,
smoke some.
or they could die.
Sure, I mean, technically, if we don't put food in our mouth, then we die, right? So
yeah.
So are we a slave to food?
To nature. Physics makes us all our bitches.
Yes.
All its bitches.
Yes.
Okay.
So on God,
we're the slave.
I'm a theist.
Like we're not omnipotent. We can't just will anything we want. There's parameters to it. There's physical parameters.
Yeah.
There's social parameters to which there's consequences. It may not prevent you from enacting your will, but there'll be consequences.
Yeah. So, if I could will anything I wanted, that's what I would call free will. But what other people call free will is just blame.
So will, you believe in will?
Yeah, I absolutely believe in will.
Okay.
But free will is just kind of nonsensical.
You're saying basically.
Yeah, I think people get hung up on the free part.
Yeah, free will is just blame. The way people use it is just blame, but I do believe in will.
No, so I understand. Basically, what you're saying is you can only blame God essentially because He's the only one who's omnipotent. Therefore, free will only makes sense for God, essentially, right?
Yeah, but we can blame whoever we damn well please. It's just the way people use free will. It just means blame.
Right, but you're saying it's not logically consistent to ascribe human beings with free will as having free will.
Well, no, it's logically consistent, but it just means blame.
Okay, but you're rejecting free will, so saying we shouldn't blame anybody for anything, essentially.
No, we could no. Even if we assume determinism, we'll blame everyone for whatever we were gonna blame them for.
Yeah, it's just not their fault. Sorry about their luck, but maybe you didn't mean to murder that guy, but you're still the one that's gonna have to pay the price for it.
Yeah, you're going in that cage because that's been determined by my reaction to murders.
That's very Islamic of you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you're a contextualist too. Like we match a lot, except for the God and the idealism thing.
Yes, we match a lot. Contextualist.
That's why I was wondering about the S. If I'm not more S than I realize.
Mm-hmm. So.
Moral anti-realist, and I'm a moral realist.
Yeah, I'm a more anti-realist, which means, you think the world's purely physical, don't you? Yeah. Art doesn't come from an is. So that's why. Yeah, more anti-realist. But I'm trying to simplify it. art doesn't come from an is. That's what more anti-realist means.
And you're a non-cognitivist, and I'm a cognitivist.
Yeah, and I'm also an anti-physicalist. The mind doesn't have to be a physical thing.
And you went for the money.
Yes, I like the money.
Ooh, you got it.
I know how the show works. So if you knew how the show works, decided to go based on Vegas.
But you would. How would you know what decision you would make? Because that's what it's going off of.
Because the brain scan would just. I already.
Would you know your own brain scan? Like, would your brain? Would you know what the brain scan would predict? Would you know yourself that well?
Yes.
Because I feel like I would do the safe thing and come out with $10. So that's what I assume my brain scan would predict.
Well, the brain scan works, and so I want the money. So I'm just gonna go with it.
So you would go with what gives you the biggest chance of getting the most money, and I went what gave me the biggest chance of getting any money at all. Some money over no money.
The brain scan works perfectly in this scenario, so I'll get the money.
I thought like a poor person, and you thought like a rich person.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
I need to change that. Give me that money. Like and subscribe at Cash App. Send me those monies. Did I do a good job?
Yes. So normative ethics, like I think I'm a consequentialist, and just by the means. Politics, I'm an egalitarian. I think that makes me woke.
Yeah, I think it does. But
yeah.
I just don't believe it's possible right now. But I don't mind it as an ideal if we could pull it off. We just can't seem to pull it off. Science you're anti-realist?
Absolutely.
Is that because of your idealism? And you would jump through the teleporter. Well, it was nice knowing you.
You could say that anytime it comes.
You probably are a Hank clone every time you come on a new stream.
Well, yeah, every time the universal clock ticks, I'm a different guy. Think about that. I mean, all the particles that's making up my body aren't the same every time it go on. I mean, different air particles, different water particles.
But how much does that affect your consciousness?
Not at all, really.
What is the truth? The truth. What is it? Truth. Non-deflationary truth. What is that?
Yes. So you do not believe that truth has any metaphysical reality. You recognize that the word true or truth is just an important role play in logical and organizing our thoughts, sentences, and theories. But you do not believe we need to postulate a reality out there in order to explain this important role. So pretty much truth is just an attribute to a story we would make.
It's what?
It's an attribute to a story. So like a truth table was that okay, this bit's lined up and call that true, and it's just extensions for that.
So okay.
That's what.
Yeah. And that goes with the emotionalism.
Yeah, emotivism. Yeah.
And mine's more correspondence type of truth.
Yeah. We should probably go over anti-realism too, because people aren't familiar with scientific anti-realist. So you're suspicious of the possibility of obtaining a true theory of reality on the basis of science. It's not that you're anti-science. You recognize that scientific reasoning is a powerful tool responsible for many crucial advances in human technology and predictive capabilities. It's just you don't think scientific theory can ever tell us what the world is really like. Theories like tools. They're useful. They help us do things, but they fulfill this role without ever really capturing any of this mysterious existence. So science is a story. It's a model that helps us predict things, but it doesn't get us the truth.
But does it correspond to something outside of itself or outside of us?
No, it's just a function. It's just a function we run to.
Then how is it so? Next. How can we use it so successfully as a predictive model if there's
because we have a whole bunch of models that we tested, and this happens to be the one that that happens to work the best. So we tried out a whole bunch of models.
But it works because it corresponds.
Yeah, this one happens to correspond pretty well. We have a whole bunch of other ones that we stopped using because they don't correspond.
Well, it's all about the usefulness of it. Essentially, what he's saying is like it only matters how useful it is. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Essentially.
Well,
Exactly.
the usefulness is the correspondence is the truth. So the more it corresponds, the more true it becomes.
No.
Yeah. In my truth, that's why your truth is anti-realist.
Yeah. No, it could be totally false, but if it happens to have the best predictions, we're gonna use that one.
Like astrology.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
saying that the limit. All he's saying is like he's putting a limit on it, saying it's only as real as it is useful. Meaning, he's not going to ascribe ultimate reality to something just because it's useful.
I'm not describing ultimate. I'm just describing any reality to it all, outside of itself. It doesn't have to be ultimate. And so, like something like astrology, some people think it describes some kind of reality, and some people think it doesn't describe anything at all.
Allegedly, there's good evidence that it is pretty accurate. So, I mean, I don't know if that's true, but there are people that.
Well, I studied to be a professional astrologer, and in the course of my studies, I kind of saw the logic break down and how it didn't make sense, and I stopped pursuing it. I stopped being able to take it seriously.
Astrology is just a giant calendar. That's how it works. It
didn't hold up under intellectual scrutiny, at least not under mine.
Yeah, astrology is a giant calendar. The stars don't have magic powers. It's the cycles on Earth we're trying to keep track of, and the stars lining up with the Earth is a good calendar. Before we invented computers or found cesium. And zombies.
And what was your zombies?
Same as yours. The idea is conceivable and possible. And we probably run into some on the Panoverse.
Yeah. Probably more than a few.
Okay,
hang on. I'm going to go grab my refill. I'll be right back. Can y'all keep it going for a sec?
Let me represent my screen real quick, and I'll keep going.
Okay.
So I'll present.
Because then I want to talk about that NS thing.
Okay, share my screen again. I'll keep it going. Go get your refill. Then NeuroJax. Okay, I could do NeuroJax after. Oh, I can still do NeuroJax. Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to do a review if you don't mind, because I'm curious if it surprised you or what. Because I don't know. I've never looked at like actual names of my philosophy, so I'm kind of curious.
I'm surprised you didn't look up any names of your philosophy, even though you watched Stefan Manu for like 5 or 10 years like I have.
Yeah, I studied philosophy in school, but I was less interested in the names and more interested in the argument. So I just never really looked up the definitions that often, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Argument. I'm a very like argument-based person. Like I think that the strength of the argument in the moment is usually the most important thing.
Oh, my default chart didn't render.
Is this Jax?
Yeah, this is NeuroJax. Let me try.
Oh, I can't wait to see this one.
I think I'm not too far from you guys. I think there's like 2 or 3 different.
Yeah, you're pretty close. I checked yours already. You're actually pretty close to mine. In fact, I would say yours is closer to mine than Jeff's is.
Because of the God thing?
Yeah. Okay. I tried to sell a link I got from Discord. So NeuroJax is a universal prescriptivist.
Oh, a Karen.
Yes. Yes, a Karen. Pretty close to mine, which is motivism. So, according to you said, morality always has a matter of cultural convention or personal belief. That statements about what actions are right or wrong express our emotions, personal approval, disapproval, or wishes for others to behave in certain ways. That people express imperative commands when they make more.
So it's an odd. Moral claims are odds.
Yes. Yeah, Karen.
Yep, that's me. Karen.
Now you're out. There's no going back. Karen Jack.
Hey, fellas.
So no, Jack is anomalous. Like
We're both
Jeffrey
anomalous.
and I. Yes.
You're
So
anomalous too?
Yeah, all three of us are anomalous. So.
And
Based nominalism.
Or anomalist.
Yes. No Jackson aesthetics objectives like Jeff and I are.
Oh, he's an idealist. See, I think is there a correlation between idealism and theism?
Yes, it is this strong correlation. Well, it's a weak correlation with idealism and theism. There are some theists that are physicalists, but there's a correlation.
Since Plato.
Yeah.
Compatibilist. Pretty good.
Like,
yeah, you're almost identical to Hank.
Yes. So God, theist.
You're like a white Hank. Good. Are you a contextualist? Because I'm a contextualist. Why do we fight all the time over knowledge?
Because
are we using different context?
Yes, we don't. You didn't set the definitions like I have to do for debate. So I just drop a whole bunch of definitions, the pragmas, my argument. We don't do that consistently, so that's why we talk past each other.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's always the definitions that catch almost 90% of all the debates. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was yesterday that Jeff and I talked past each other because we were using different definitions.
Metaphysical solipsism and epistemological solipsism.
Yes, we're using different definitions of solipsism.
Different contexts.
Yeah, so we talk past each other.
Yeah, actually, that's why I'm glad you brought that up yesterday, because it's a very important distinction, and I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. So
yeah, I didn't either until I realized we weren't on the same page.
Yeah. So
Humean. Are you sure this is Jack's? This is identical to yours.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah,
how is Jack a moral anti-realist and a Karen?
We'll read more anti-realist so we can figure it out.
Purely physical and don't see how...
Yeah, so maybe you believe that this world is purely physical and don't you see how the physical world includes moral facts. Or you're an empiricist who thinks all knowledge comes from science and observation, and you don't see how science and observation could reveal objective moral truths. You may think that statements of morality are meaningless or that they are mere expressions of positive or negative emotions towards actions that people take. Or you may think that moral statements portend to assert aspects of reality that simply aren't there. You might still think that moral beliefs serve an important purpose, like organizing society and keeping us from hurting each other. It's the fourth one.
Yeah,
it's the fourth one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely the fourth camp on that one for sure. Does that surprise you, Jeff?
Which one?
I'll highlight it. This
you may think that moral statements pretend to assert aspects of reality that you think this. You might still think that moral beliefs are important.
I think functionally, yes. I mean, is there ultimate morality? Absolutely, but I don't think it's knowable for most humans.
This is my position too, but how can you be a moral, prescriptivist, universal prescriptivist, and this kind of moral anti-realist?
Because he's a theist too.
So he wants his beliefs imposed on everybody else, even if they don't correspond to any actual reality. He's a control freak that wants to tell people what to do.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah. I would prefer it. Listen, universally preferable for that to happen.
Well, it's not.
So, mine anti-physicalist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that too.
I can see that.
Jeff is a physicalist. Mine's not physical.
Barely. That's the one I teetered on.
Yeah, I just put
slightly tilted toward physical.
I just put mind first. I think mind is first, and everything else is a consequence of mind. So that's the way I explain it.
But the brain develops before the mind does. Like even in the womb.
No, mine comes first, then egg, then chicken, Jeff.
So y'all talking about a soul because there's something non-physical that comes before the baby.
I have no idea what soul is.
I don't either.
I think mind and soul might be synonymous, but I'm not sure.
Because I don't know how you can have mind before the sperm and the egg meet.
Oh, because the universe is made out of mind. That's how.
Y'all get crazy. Okay,
Well,
let's see.
basically, what I think is nothing we see that has anything outside of chaos must have a mind, and even chaos probably requires a mind. That's basically what I
What
think.
y'all are?
Yeah,
Y'all are extending mind to all kind of weird.
I think
like, is it your own mind you're projecting on the universe? The universe seems to have a mind because you experience your own mind, and you think it's extended beyond you.
No, mind is the substrate to the pretty much physics happens in mind. So mind's a substrate.
But physics happened way before there were even minds. Minds came after the physics. You believe that mind was at the Big Bang, like way
before the Big Bang, and I don't even think the Big Bang was the start. So
how do you have a mind before there's even a brain?
I don't have a mind, but the thing preceding the universe has a mind before having
without a brain.
Yeah.
I don't think the universe could exist without a mind. I think without mind, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree with Neil.
Like, I'm a solipsist for the universe, not for myself, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're a what for the universe? A solipsist for the universe. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I don't even see where the consciousness would be located other than your own.
Well, I think it's more logically consistent to assume that mind is everywhere and nowhere at once, essentially.
Just because you experience your own, you assume that it's everywhere else. I had the opposite experience.
Well, here's the thing. If it came the opposite way, we could just make minds. So, it's probably not. We don't have to. It's a way around the mind-body problem that you have.
I don't have a mind-body, but I like my mind and my body.
Well,
I don't have a problem with either one.
Yeah, well, physicalism has the problem with where do minds come from, and they think it's brains, but then they don't think it's brains, and they
well, you need a brain to have a brain is essential to have mind. So it's an epiphenomenon of brain.
I'll explain it like this. I think the brain is an antenna, and we're receiving something. That's what I think. That's the way.
But something we're receiving could have a naturalistic explanation, just like radio waves have naturalistic explanations.
Technically, yes, you might be correct, but it doesn't exclude that it might also be something else.
Right. I just tend toward the more likely explanations or natural ones, and spiritual supernaturalists tend toward they're willing to allow for this other dimension for the explanations to come from.
I think assuming that nature isn't God or a part of God is not as logically.
I don't know why you have to assume God. Like, you have nature. There's nothing else you need to assume.
I don't think
nature we can see. You don't have to assume this invisible, unseen component to it as well.
Can you see air, Jeff?
Yeah, we can see air. We have spectrographs.
All right. Let's move on.
Oh yeah, did you pick the box? Let's see. You went for the money too. I was so happy with my little $10. That might explain a lot.
Yeah, it does explain a lot. So, moral judgment, non-conscious like me. Don't move
I chose the less rational choice, essentially.
But it had the bigger payoff. Like, you were willing to take the bigger risk.
Well, I'd rather have nothing than just get a $10, because it to me, getting $10 feels worse than like just getting nothing and maybe I get $1 million. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that $10 seems like so much when you don't have anything.
Well, yeah,
it's like half a month of StreamYard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not very money motivated, but I'd rather just get $1 million or get nothing.
Yeah, $10 is a waste of my time. Why even go there? Okay. No checks on normative ethics.
Virtue. I see. I thought I was more virtue ethics. You think there's no simple formula, right? Making good choices depends on having cultivated a good character. I think that helps a lot. This is the one I should have ended up with. Have a good upbringing, surrounded by virtuous people. Oh, because of the social element, and I did the more individual.
Yes. Yeah, you
Yeah,
picked the libertarian one.
And the
So then,
social, like your social milieu could influence your character. That's that second factor, positive environment that can overcome negative internal influences. For an action to be right, is that
yeah,
a virtuous person would choose a wrong
yeah,
action? Oh, it's like modeling people that demonstrate that they can choose virtuous actions.
yeah. And you picked the
And I think learning
libertarian
how to
one
do it
instead, yeah.
yourself is better than relying on imitating another person. But that helps. I don't think ultimately. I don't think it's. I think it's a starting point. I don't think it's the end point.
Okay. Let's go to the last page. So politics, no
Oh,
Jack
we're
has the
both
same as me.
egalitarians.
Yes.
yeah.
That means he's woke. He's
Yeah,
woke like I
I
am.
was torn on it, but yeah, I think I have to lean in that
He's
direction.
a
I think
woke Karen.
excess. I think excess is poison to society, personally. So yeah.
You
Yep.
just jelly. Wait till you have the excess.
Oh yeah, when I have it,
Get
I
these
won't.
poor people, poor masses away from me.
That's why I've rejected it. But yeah, because I definitely would like lose my mind probably if I had.
When
That
I have the excess, I'm going to make sure my computers are repairable. At least, so that's what I'm going to do in my excess. Science anti-realist, just like I am.
Well, at least one other person's going to be around after the teletransporter. Nero, Jack, and I might be the only two survivors.
Yep, I don't trust that shit. I think that even if it works, there's like I don't believe in efficiency, so I don't think that it's possible. Like you'd have to have something that's like 110% efficient. I don't think that's possible.
The ideal of truth is closely
I,
connected with knowledge.
they just need to rebuild all my components together. Then to be like snapshot, like transferring the computer's storage. It's a snapshot.
Yeah. Well, maybe we need like 100 crystal skulls or some shit. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah, 100 crystal stars would do it, or the 7 chaos emeralds, or Dragon Balls. Dragon Balls work. They bring people back to life. So you're just already dead.
Epistemic truth, let's see, is not that different from mine. I just make sure that it corresponds to something. One version of this is
Yeah, it's different from mine. I'm a
empirical
deflationary
evidence. This seems very close to epistemic truth. It just puts the emphasis slightly on the knowledge of the truth instead of the correspondence of the truth with the thing. But I can relate to that one.
And No Jack believes in zombies.
We all do, right? All of us.
Yes,
Zombies.
yes.
I think that we like you guys think. I think that it's not only possible; it's very likely to be the case.
The zombie test is kind of hypothetical too. I hope. Apparently, we do all agree on zombies.
It's the propaganda, bro. That's why.
I might not until I had experience myself of losing consciousness in certain moments, but still being like conscious.
Still being moving. You're being mobile but not conscious.
Well, my friends could tell. Like when you're in a blackout, your friends don't know. They can't tell you're blacking out, so they think you're conscious, and they talk to you like you're conscious, and you don't remember any of that. But so to them, you look normal.
Yeah. The freak says the teleport test is fun because it's totally hypothetical. Not quite. So if you're playing a video game and it teleports you, then it's a valid test still. Are you playing the same character or a different character?
Does that apply to physical humans?
Yes. Once we get the technology at work, it will.
Well, okay.
That
It probably won't be in my lifetime.
well.
Who's gonna test? First, they're gonna have to test it on rats and pigs and stuff like that, and see if they die. But at some point, an actual human. You think they're gonna use prisoners or captives or something? At some point, an actual human's gonna have to take.
They're gonna use game show contestants.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. I would too. I got the same answer he did, because if it kills you and reconstitutes you, then that's not the same person. That's a clone.
If I change my molecules, then I don't have all the molecules I was composed of. So if I look at this.
No, the
Now I'm a different person. Look.
The question stated it. It was an assumption that the question itself assumed.
I have different molecules. Than
I'm not saying it would actually kill you. I'm saying the scenario they presented us, they said it would kill us.
So the other one be decomposed because there's no use for that. I'm supposed to be over there. So
Robin wants the brain back, Jack.
Oh, okay. So if the transport just copied you and just have a dupe, then I guess you would say we were both alive, right?
Me?
So it didn't destroy the old one.
You talking to me?
Yes. So if the transporter didn't destroy the old copy, you would say that we're both alive, or how would that work?
Yeah, but then I don't know how the teleportation would happen either, if it's the same.
It snapshots you, and then you'll be over on the other side.
As yourself? But how, like, to me, that's physically impossible. But then so is the disintegrating you and reconstituting you too. So teleportation in general seems pretty far-fetched. It's like 3D printing you on the other side.
Yes, it is.
But it's not you. It's not your consciousness. I don't know how they get the consciousness to continue into the new form.
It would just have it because it. Let's assume physicalism. If the consciousness built into the wetware, then having a clone of my wetware would have the consciousness right with it.
So they would take your brain apart and put it back together like a microsecond later, and the consciousness in your brain would restore itself instantly. That yes. Seems like that would, like, if you tore apart a computer and reconstituted it, would all the contents on it still be there? Like,
yes, absolutely. If you saved a hard drive, of course, or if you save all the memory and move it over to when you transport it, then it would be.
So you'd have to upload the consciousness separately and download it again back into the new form. Restart self.
Yes.
It'd be like this, like in addition to the body, they would be uploading the consciousness like to the cloud and then downloading into the new body.
Yeah. And with computers, it's just a
so then what is consciousness? Is it information that can be? But it's information stored in our wetware, like you said, our biological organic hardware. But if there's some way to, that's what the transhumanists want to do. They want to download themselves onto computers so they don't die.
I would say that the body's storing the consciousness, but either way, you had to copy the whole pattern over, which is what the machine does.
But is that enough, or is like consciousness exists at any given moment in a certain state, a certain arrangement of its contents? If you disrupt that, can you reconstitute that exact state back again, even if you download? I don't know if. I guess they do it with files and stuff.
Well, I can go to sleep and wake up, and I could go under anesthesia and be brought back. So, if those two things don't disrupt my consciousness enough that I'm not a different person, then I don't see how this would.
Yeah, like you just go to sleep for a second or so and wake back up, and in a waking state.
Yeah. The only difference is they will place all my molecules at the same time.
It's what is consciousness? Like, what is it that's getting uploaded and downloaded that has me? That's my sticking point.
Well, all the molecules will be different at the same time, except.
But it's got to be more than just molecules if it's information. Because information is even made of molecules, as far as I know.
It's a pattern. Information's a pattern.
Right, like an MP3 file. Is it molecules?
Well, yes, it is molecules.
The digital. And
Yeah, it's molecules.
it doesn't move the air. It doesn't move through air.
Well, it does move through Wi-Fi. You heard of Wi-Fi. It goes
But
on
not through
light.
air. Digital information.
Yeah. It goes on light.
Like an acoustic instrument would create a sound wave.
Yeah.
Or even
So
a CD or a recording would create a sound wave in the air.
It would be a light wave in there because Wi-Fi. It'd be a light wave.
But like streaming, nothing's moving through air when you stream a song or a movie. It's just information.
If you stream over Wi-Fi, you'll get a light wave, a radio wave, and it'll be decode the pattern into a file which we stored on your either flash media or magnetic storage, and it will just be it's a bit pattern. That the software on the computer,
just pure information.
Can decode it.
It doesn't have a physical component. It's just information. If we get to quantum computing, that's going to become even more intangible.
It has a physical component. It has to be stored somewhere
but the information itself, like, it doesn't matter what you store it on. The song is the information itself. You could store it on a flash drive, a hard drive, an iPod.
It has to be stored somewhere, not stored nowhere. Because it takes up space.
But the device you store it on doesn't seem to make a difference as to the content itself.
As long as it's encoded and decoded the same way.
Right. So it's the information, the coding that is the essence of the song or the
the coding's the essence of the song, but it has to be stored somewhere. You can't just have the coding without media. Yeah, it has to have some media, at least one medium, to exist.
Yeah, but the medium's not the message in this case.
Yeah, the medium's not the message, but you can't have a message about some medium. Yeah. If you have no mediums at all, there's no message.
Are we back to form and content in art?
Yes.
I studied this, freak. I have a degree in this. There's mathematical formula, really complicated ones that involved antennas and radio waves and these charts and graphs that you had to. It was complicated, but I think they have an idea.
Yeah, they know how electric lines transfer electricity. They use the electromagnetic field.
I mean, electricity itself is not a mystery, or electromagnetism, because we had to design circuits and calculate circuits and trace how the electricity moves around the circuit, and each component you add to it affects what happens to the electricity along the way. And then they have like the little chips and stuff. They have the different materials, the PNP and the NPN. I don't even know if they use that anymore, but that also affected something.
Yeah. So you lose around it. It goes over the electromagnetic field, but the wires pretty much tells it where to go, where it's the end supposed to be. Oh, that's a good point. The airlines won't want the competition.
What are they going to be able to do about it? If, break somebody's kneecap if they try to start a teleportation company?
They'll say teleportation kills people. It's too dangerous.
I forgot. Thank you, Robin, for reminding me. I always forget that. It's actually Gen X Jeff 2. So make sure you add the 2. Otherwise, it's going to go to some other mysterious Gen X Jeff. Thanks again, Robin. Great to see you.
Yeah, it does say that the teleporters kill you. That's how they get.
Yeah, I'm not using
them. Once it works, I'll use it. Unless it's too expensive, of course.
I'll be on. Well, that way now I'll get to fly first class because all the fancy people will be using teleportations, and that'll leave first class open for the rest of us. Oh, sorry. Oh, Robin, is there a way to take it back? I don't know how it works. I appreciate the gesture anyway. I think some other Gen X Jeff is. I don't think he's gonna get rich, but he's gonna get a little happy surprise now and then. Wow, we had more people watching this than I expected. I have something to do again in about an hour, and then I'll probably do a stream
All right.
tonight too.
Well, we got this done. So we could probably just get back.
Yeah,
to
that was
finish.
fun. Thanks for
Yep.
turning us on to it.
You're welcome.
Jeff, how much will we need to donate to get you to go on a date with a woman?
None. Nope, none. Price.
And
I mean,
undefined.
I would go on a date. Like I would go have dinner with a woman, but she'd be foolish to have expectations that it would turn into anything romantic. So if you want to call that a date, but I don't even know. I'm not even ready to whore myself like that, even for money.
Well, I mean, what I mean is like, if you were to have a date with a woman and she was actually like, interesting enough, and she wanted you to go back to her apartment, would you go with her?
No, I've had that. I've been in that situation. No.
Wow.
I would not.
I mean, pussy man.
I ended up spending. We sat in the hot tub. I ended up spending the night sleeping on her couch. She wanted to do way more. She knew I was gay, and I didn't. We had been drinking, so I didn't want to drive either. So I kind of felt stuck at her place, and I just kept having to fend her off all night, just telling her no, and you're a nice person. I like our friendship. I'm gay, etc., etc. But just having to do that constantly was awkward.
Sorry, I'm not into pussy.
Yeah, that's what it is, and that's part of it. Even then, it's not. I'm not even into all guys. So even with guys, it's no guarantee I'm going to be into you. All right, let me put the app.
Who's the sexiest wrestler when you're younger? Like
I didn't think any of them were sexy. They were all like greasy, trailer park, long hair, scuzzy. They seem to appeal to a crowd that was definitely not mine.
What about Ric Flair? Come on, the Nature Boy.
Mm-mm. I didn't think anybody in the 70s was that hot because 70s had the long hair, like that long hair, the feathered hair, and I never liked it. I liked in the 80s you had the short hair coming more into style, and that's when the punks, like all the rock people, started to cut their hair short, etc.
What about Trump when he was younger?
Mm-mm. Nope, he never did it for me.
Okay, I just had to ask.
Let me check out this. So you're saying I could put an icon and
Yeah, it's in the ticker now.
In the ticker?
Yeah, I see the. Yeah, I see the Cash App and the Ko-Fi in the ticker.
Yeah, I tried to take Gen X Jeff, but it was taken.
Okay, see you gents later.
Okay, we'll see you around, Hank. Good hanging out. Oh, I do want to talk one day, if you're still there, about that NS thing. So think about it and give me your thoughts on it next time we talk.
Me?
Hank, because he has an interest in MBTI.
What is that?
The Myers-Briggs. Oh, he's back.
I need to look about that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You need the Myers-Briggs test, or what do you need?
Yeah, send me some more tests. I probably did those when I was like 13 years old, so it's been a while.
There's also socionics, I think, which is similar.
Yes.
They have a.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get you the test. Let me give me a. I'm gonna hop off. I'll get you the test before 7.
All right, cool. I'm gonna jump off too. See you guys later.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. I am. I see. So you're saying put my icon where the little avatar goes. Okay. It's going to be the same little. It's going to be this. So I just added it. So it's the one with that little satyr dude on it. Thanks, freak. All right. Well, that was fun. Got a couple of hours. I'm going to take a break and then maybe be back in the evening. If not, I'll be here tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Friday? Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, well, that's a great idea. Thanks. You feathered you. Oh God. Yeah, I'm not proud of my 80s pictures either. But it was fun. Like internally, subjectively, I enjoyed it and having a ball. But then looking at the photos from that era, I guess everybody cringes when they look back on it. And I had braces at the time. I had braces for years. So I had the feathered hair, the pimply face, and the big metal mouth. I was not. I don't think I was that cute. All right, it was fun. People hanging out, and I'll catch you at the next one. Oh yeah, subscribe. You don't have to like, but at least subscribe if you haven't, and only if you want to. And most importantly, let other people know if there's groups. Share it on your Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Anybody that you think, men that need a place to talk, mental health, autistic, neurodivergent people, gifted people, the outliers, the misfits, any of those that you know, that's who we're trying to reach. So spread the word and we'll see if we can help this grow. All right. Later, freak. Good to see you. Everyone else. Philip, Robin. Thank you all. And I'll see you later.